I turned into the devil. The case of Moises Mendoza. Moises Sandoval Mendoza, a 40-year-old man, is scheduled to be executed in Texas. His crime? The brutal murder of 20-year-old Rachelle O'Neil Tolleson in 2004. Mendoza's execution is set for Wednesday. He will be the third inmate executed in Texas this year. Nationally, he will be the 13th. This case forces us to confront the darkest aspects of human nature. It compels us to examine the complexities of crime, punishment, and the enduring pain inflicted upon victims and their families. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Rachelle O'Neil Tolleson was more than just a name in a case file. She was a young mother. Her daughter, Avery, was only 6 months old when Rachelle's life was tragically cut short. Rachelle enjoyed simple pleasures. Scrapbooking and shopping brought her joy. But above all, Avery was the center of her world. Pam O'Neil, Rachelle's mother, carries the weight of Avery's loss. Avery will never have memories of her mother. This absence is a constant ache. Mendoza's legal team made a last-ditch effort. On April 2nd, they requested to challenge his conviction in federal court. The courts have consistently upheld the original verdict. Mendoza was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. The legal process, seemingly exhaustive, has led to this final, irreversible point. The question remains, has justice truly been served, or are there lingering doubts that should give us pause? March 18, 2004, a day that irrevocably altered countless lives. Rachelle Tolleson was at home in Farmersville, Texas, caring for her infant daughter. Mendoza entered Tolleson's house through an unlocked back door. This simple act of trespass initiated a chain of events that culminated in unimaginable horror. Mendoza and Tolleson left the house together, leaving Avery alone. Mendoza claimed they were simply going to get cigarettes. This was a lie. In his vehicle, Mendoza began choking Tolleson for no reason. His own words offer no explanation, no remorse, only a chilling admission of inexplicable violence. Mendoza drove to a field near his house. There, he subjected Tolleson to a brutal sexual assault. The violation compounded the horror. He choked her again, this time with even greater force. He left her for dead. Mendoza dragged Tolleson out of the truck. He choked her until he believed she was no longer alive, but he wasn't finished. He poked her throat with a knife. This final gruesome act ensured her death. It was a chilling display of calculated cruelty. Mendoza left her body in the field. He then attempted to conceal his crime. His actions reveal a disturbing level of premeditation. Mendoza wrapped Tolleson's body in a tarp. He moved it to his cousin's land in a remote area. The act of concealment speaks volumes. He dumped the body in a dugout pit. He then set the body on fire. His intent was to destroy any evidence, any trace of his heinous act. Tolleson's charred remains were discovered by a man searching for arrowheads. The discovery brought a community's worst fears to light. The search for Rachelle was over, but the search for justice had just begun. Neighbors described Mendoza as hard-working. This seemingly ordinary detail contrasts sharply with the brutality of his crime. Neighbors also noted a change in his behavior over time. This subtle shift hints at a darkness that was slowly consuming him. He graduated high school and did fairly well. He even received high school scholarships. These achievements paint a picture of a life with potential. He completed 9 months of heating and air conditioning training. He possessed skills, a trade, a path towards a productive life. But a darker path beckoned. In 2003, he was arrested for involvement in 2 aggravated robberies. This marked a turning point. He was out on bail for robbery when Tolleson went missing. This detail underscores the failures of the system. Mendoza and Tolleson were in the same grade school classes. They shared a history, a connection, however tenuous. Mendoza attended a party at Tolleson's house shortly before the murder. This proximity adds another layer of complexity to the tragedy. In a letter to his parents, Mendoza stated he didn't have a reason for his actions. He claimed he turned into the devil. These words offer a glimpse into a disturbed mind. a clinical psychologist described him as immature and psychologically underdeveloped. This assessment suggests a lack of emotional maturity. He enjoyed being sneaky and got angry when criticized. These traits point to a deeply flawed personality. The prosecutor described Mendoza as one of the most violent, sadistic men he'd ever prosecuted. This damning assessment paints a portrait of pure evil. The question remains, what drove Mendoza to commit such a heinous act? Was it a sudden impulse, or the culmination of a lifetime of darkness? The murder of Rachelle Tolleson left an indelible scar on the community. Fear and grief gripped the small town of Farmersville. Avery, Rachelle's daughter, grew up without her mother. The absence shaped her life in profound ways. Pam O'Neil, Rachelle's mother, became Avery's guardian. She dedicated her life to raising Avery in the shadow of unimaginable loss. The trial was a grueling ordeal for the Tolleson family. They were forced to relive the horror of Rachelle's murder in excruciating detail. The death penalty was a controversial issue in this case. Some argued that it was the only just punishment for such a heinous crime. Others opposed it on moral grounds. Mendoza's execution will not bring Rachelle back. It will not erase the pain of her family. But for some, it will bring a sense of closure. The case of Moises Mendoza reignites the debate over capital punishment. Is it a just and effective deterrent? Or is it a cruel and unusual punishment? Proponents of the death penalty argue that it is a necessary tool for justice. They believe it deters violent crime and provides closure for victims' families. Opponents of the death penalty argue that it is morally wrong. They point to the risk of executing innocent people and the disproportionate impact on minority communities. The death penalty is a complex and deeply divisive issue. There are no easy answers. The debate continues to rage on. For the victims' families, the death penalty is often seen as a form of retribution. It is a way to hold the perpetrator accountable for their actions. But even with the execution of the perpetrator, the pain of loss remains. The void left by the victim can never be truly filled. Victim advocates argue that the focus should be on supporting the victims' families. They need access to counseling, financial assistance, and other resources. The needs of the victims' families must be prioritized. Their voices must be heard. Their pain must be acknowledged. The case of Moises Mendoza is a tragedy on multiple levels. It is a tragedy for Rachelle Tolleson, whose life was brutally cut short. It is a tragedy for her daughter, Avery, who grew up without her mother. It is a tragedy for the community of Farmersville, which was forever scarred by this heinous crime. It is a tragedy for all those who believe in the sanctity of human life. As Moises Mendoza faces his execution, we are left to grapple with difficult questions. What is the true meaning of justice? Can any punishment truly atone for such a horrific act? The answers, if they exist, are elusive, but the search for them must continue. We must strive to create a society where such tragedies are less likely to occur. The memory of Rachelle O'Neil Tolleson must serve as a reminder of the preciousness of life. It must inspire us to work towards a more just and compassionate world.